Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to create a textured background for a pattern. So I've got this flower here that I want to create a repeat with, and I want to create a textured background for it as well. So let's start with the textured background. I'm going to turn the flower off. I'm going to select a colour and I'm going to select a texture. This is from my own texture brush pack. And let's paint a background. You could also, instead of painting it, you could scan in a photo of a texture, which I often do, and then play with the blending modes. And you could use anything. I like to use the brushes in Procreate, but I also like to use my own textures that I've taken photos of as well. Alright, there you go, there's a textured background. Now if we were to put our flower on top of here and create a repeat, you're going to end up with a lines around the repeating texture. So that is our aim, to get rid of them. So to do that, I'm going to duplicate that texture layer so that I've got 5 in total. I'm going to turn off the original, that's just a backup. And then each of these we're going to move into the corners, so we're going to create a kind of offset. So if I select it, we want to make sure that magnetics and snapping is turned on. And then I'm going to drag each one to the corners and just make sure you get those orange lines. That will tell you that it's lined up correctly. Let's go to the next one. And the next one. And the last one. So now you can see that it's created these lines. So what we have done is, by moving these to the corners, everything up here repeats along the bottom edge, and then everything on the left will repeat on the right. But the middle bit here is going to create these lines, so that's what we have to remove. So to do that, what I do is I will merge those 4 layers, still holding on to our original, and then I like to create a layer underneath it with just a white fill and then merge it. This is because we're going to use the clone tool, and sometimes if you've got like a texture that might have a bit of transparency in it, it doesn't quite work very well, so it needs kind of a block color behind it to make it work a bit better. So let's just create a white layer behind, which you can't see obviously, and then we're going to merge these together. Okay, and now we need to get rid of these lines. So to do that, I'm going to go up to the adjustments menu, and there's an option here called clone. And so now you can see we've got this little circle here, and if I move it around, you can see you can pick a spot that you want to clone. So let's just leave it on that bit there, and then if I paint with this, actually let's change the paintbrush. So if you go back in, it's good to do this with a brush that has a bit of texture. So I've got this one here called Forest Floor, I'm going to use that, but any sort of textured brush will do. You just have to have a play to find which one works best with your textured background. So now when I paint it, you can see, if I zoom in here, it's cloning up here and putting it down here, which means this line is disappearing. This is exactly the same way as I do it in Photoshop. I find Procreate a little bit harder to do it with, but it still works. And so I'm just going to continue doing that until I'm happy on all these lines. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So now I can go ahead and create my pattern. And I might just bump that down. I'm going to change the blending mode to multiply and just lower the opacity, as I don't want it so harsh. The other thing you can do is just test it out before you do your pattern. So let's actually do that first. I'm going to duplicate this one so that I have 5. I want to keep that original as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn off my original, and then this time make sure snapping is on again with the magnetics and snapping. This time you want to rescale it down to the 4 corners. So let's go through each one. And this is just to test that it's repeating nicely. And there you go, you can't see any lines there, so that is working really well. So I'm going to remove those. So I've just merged them together and delete them and go back to that original, because this is where we're going to place our pattern. And I'm just going to create a few duplicates of this flower and spread them around the canvas. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to now create a flattened layer of that whole canvas. So 3 fingers swipe down, then select copy all, 3 fingers swipe down and select paste. And so now you can see it's created a merged layer, and I'm just going to place that at the top, and then I'm just going to group this layer here, these layers here for our repeat, and turn that off. So now we've just got a flattened layer with our flowers plus our textured background. And if I duplicate that, I'm going to duplicate it. So there's 5 again, we'll turn off the original, and then let's resize them down to test that it repeats nicely. And there you go, it's all repeating really nicely. I can't see any lines, and if I wanted to I could add more flowers. I would go back to my original here and I can duplicate it and then place, or duplicate a flower then place on top. But that is now a repeating pattern with a textured background. If you have any questions, please pop them below and I will answer them as soon as I can. If you like this and you want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you'll always know when I post another video. Happy pattern making!